In the affluent neighborhood of Magnolia Heights, a wedding was meant to be a celebration of love, but it quickly spiraled into chaos. Victoria Blackthorne, a longtime resident with a reputation for being the neighborhood's self-appointed guardian, stood at the center of the storm, her voice slicing through the air like a blade. "You don't belong here," she shouted at Benjamin Sterling, the groom, whose tuxedo was now stained and torn, remnants of what should have been the happiest day of his life scattered around him. But Ben's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Victoria's fury. "Ma'am, I suggest you reconsider that phone call," he replied, his voice steady, but inside his heart raced. He had worked hard to reach this moment, and he wasn't about to let anyone ruin it. But Victoria was beyond reason, dialing 911 with theatrical urgency. "There's a gang gathering at my neighbor's house. They're threatening me." As sirens wailed in the distance, Ben's eyes held a knowing glint. He understood the gravity of Victoria's mistake. She had no idea who she was truly dealing with. "T.O. understand how this peaceful wedding turned into a scene of destruction. We must rewind 3 months. Ben, the state governor, was preparing for a modest wedding with his fiancée, Emily Ashworth, a respected pediatric surgeon known for her compassion and dedication. Both came from humble beginnings, and their dream was to celebrate their love in privacy, away from the political spotlight. However, Victoria, who lived next door in a grand Victorian mansion, was struggling to keep her failing construction company afloat. Once a thriving business, it had suffered due to her inability to adapt to changing times. When she saw Ben and Emily moving in, resentment bubbled within her. They were a successful black couple, and Victoria felt threatened by their presence, convinced they would overshadow her. Their first encounter was icy. Victoria approached with a plate of cookies, her smile devoid of warmth. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Ben, ever the diplomat, introduced himself and Emily, but Victoria's eyes narrowed as she assessed their expensive car and designer clothes. From that moment, Victoria became obsessed with the couple. She watched their every move, cataloging their visitors and complaining to the homeowners association about noise violations and disruptions. Ben and Emily, meanwhile, were blissfully unaware of the storm brewing next door. Focused on planning their dream wedding as their wedding day approached, Victoria's harassment escalated. She blocked delivery trucks, spun lies to vendors, and confronted family members with hostility. "You don't belong here," she hissed at Emily's elderly grandmother when she arrived to help with preparations. Ben remained composed, reassuring Emily that they wouldn't let Victoria's hate steal their joy. But the pressure was mounting, and Emily began to doubt their decision to move to Magnolia Heights on the morning of the wedding. Victoria unleashed her final assault. She vandalized decorations, tore down signs, and hurled garbage over the fence. When Emily's grandfather arrived, Victoria confronted him, screaming that he didn't belong in America. The wedding planner documented everything, urging Ben to call the police. But he refused, determined to hold on to their dream. As guests began to arrive, Victoria positioned herself at her window, her hatred boiling over as she saw the diverse crowd. The ceremony commenced, but Victoria's screams shattered the moment. "This is a respectable neighborhood. Take your noise somewhere else." In a fit of rage, she stormed into the backyard, overturning tables and smashing the wedding cake. Racial slurs spewed from her lips, shocking the guests. Ben's foster brother, Daniel, attempted to restrain her, but Victoria was beyond reason. Amidst the chaos, Victoria dialed 911, spinning a web of lies about armed gang members threatening her life. As police sirens approached, Ben's heart raced. He knew the implications of their arrival, especially in a country where perceptions could lead to tragedy. When the police arrived, they were met with confusion. Officer Reginald Thorne, a seasoned veteran, surveyed the scene, overturned tables, traumatized guests, and a bride in tears. Victoria rushed the officers, her performance frantic. "They're criminals. Arrest them." But the officers, trained to assess situations, quickly realized something was amiss. Ben stepped forward, his dignity intact despite the chaos. "Officers, I believe there's been a misunderstanding," he said, his voice steady. Recognition dawned on Officer Thorne. "Governor Sterling," he exclaimed, the weight of the situation crashing down. The officers exchanged glances, realizing they had responded to a false report against the state's highest official. Victoria's face drained of color as the implications hit her. She had just destroyed the wedding of the very man she needed to save her failing business. No, 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 she moaned, her mind racing. Ben, maintaining his composure, addressed Victoria. You knew exactly what you were doing, Miss Blackthorne. Your actions have consequences. As the officers documented the scene, Victoria's world crumbled. She was arrested for filing a false police report, vandalism, and hate crimes. The media frenzy that followed painted her as a symbol of racism and hatred. Her business collapsing under the weight of public outrage. 3 weeks later, Victoria stood in court, facing the possibility of prison time. But in a surprising turn, Governor Sterling walked in, requesting leniency. I want to offer her a chance for redemption, he said, advocating for community service and sensitivity training instead of prison time. The courtroom erupted in disbelief. Victoria, overwhelmed, realized the gravity of her actions. She had the opportunity to change, to prove that redemption was possible. As she began her community service, Victoria faced hostility, but persevered. She listened to the stories of those she once judged, slowly dismantling her prejudices. Over time, she became a mentor, helping young entrepreneurs build their dreams. Months later, Victoria returned to court transformed. Her testimony moved the judge, and Ben stood by her side, acknowledging her growth. She has earned a second chance, he declared. 1 year after the wedding disaster, Ben and Emily hosted a neighborhood barbecue, inviting everyone, including Victoria. As they celebrated, Ben reflected on the journey. Hate destroys everything it touches, but love has the power to transform. Victoria approached Ben and Emily, gratitude in her eyes. Thank you for showing me grace, she said, her voice sincere. Ben smiled. You saved yourself, Victoria. You chose to change. In the end, what began as a story of hatred and destruction became a testament to the transformative power of forgiveness and redemption. The wedding that was nearly ruined by hate ultimately created a community where former enemies became friends, proving that love can heal even the deepest wounds. As the sun set over Magnolia Heights, the neighborhood felt different. The air was filled with laughter and the aroma of grilled food, but more importantly, it was filled with hope. Victoria, now a beloved member of the community, had turned her life around. She had started a mentorship program for young people in the area, helping them navigate the challenges of entrepreneurship. Ben and Emily watched as children of all backgrounds played together, their laughter echoing through the streets. They had turned their wedding disaster into a catalyst for change, fostering a sense of unity in a community that had once been divided. Victoria stood beside them, her heart full. I never thought I could change, she admitted, her voice trembling with emotion. But you showed me that it's never too late to become a better person. Ben nodded, his eyes shining with pride. We all have the power to change the narrative. It starts with understanding and compassion. As the evening wore on, the community gathered around a bonfire, sharing stories and dreams of the future. In that moment, they realized that love, when nurtured, could conquer even the deepest divides. And as the stars twinkled above, they knew that together, they could build a brighter tomorrow